Today we're going to do a little Mustang watching, more like Mustang hunting. Stats, graphs, numbers are showing that in 2024 Mustang sales have been low, and there's been some glimmer of hope as now Mustang sales are starting to increase a little bit. So we're going to head on the main street northbound on Telegraph. This is where I'm anticipating to see a variety of cars. Starting with our first one is a Mach E to my left. So we're going to count that in the 0 for traditional Mustang, 1 for Mach E. I'm making a couple errands, and so in this drive, we're going to pan around and scan. There's another Mach E right there. That was the like the rally sport one. It isn't much different than all the other states nationwide where SUVs and trucks are the dominant vehicle of choice. And that's why when I'm not in deep thought, I like to look around while I'm making errands and kind of get a gauge of what are people driving. And since the Mustang has so much heritage, are people still driving those? That is a prior police pursuit Charger converted over. Might have got it from an auction, but I believe it's the V6 edition. Being born and raised from Detroit, I've always had a passion for cars, and particularly the Mustangs and the Lincolns. It is the weekend. It's a really beautiful day. One of the criteria of my count is that they need to be in motion, in traffic, the vehicle in use. So I'm not counting the parked Mustangs, because believe me, we're going to pass by a couple Ford dealers. There's plenty of parked Mustangs, so I won't use it as my tally. But when I'm looking for Mustangs en route somewhere, okay, we got our first one. We got a Mustang 5th generation to my left and a Mach E. So now that makes like 1 traditional Mustang and 3 Mach E's. And again, we're riding northbound on Telegraph. We're passing through a few cities. We're still in Dearborn right now. So we keep our eyes peeled. It's more like a research base. Again, I do it when I don't have much on my mind, just to pass the time along. It is, it lets me know that these vehicles are still being treasured and enjoyed in spite of the convenience of, oh, got another Mustang to my left, the S550. So now it makes 2 traditional Mustangs and 3 Mach E's. So we're looking pretty good. There's a Lincoln on display I wanted to capture for you guys. It's at a fireworks shop. May have already passed it. I think that's up in Redford, which we'll be entering that part of Telegraph shortly. Meanwhile, we're looking pretty good on our count. I think I counted 2 traditional Mustangs, 3 Mach E's. So 5 isn't so bad on a Sunday noontime. But everybody does their own style of car watching. For me, like I said, I got a passion for Lincolns. The Lincoln, oh, there it is right there. There's the Lincoln right there. It's at the fireworks shop. There's been a couple of unique influencers. The guy Tim, Schmid 150, he's from Europe, and he's come to Michigan, Metro Detroit on 3 occasions to buy a Ford GT, a GT500, as well as a dark horse. So here's the dealer right here. You're going to see a number of vehicle display. What makes this dealer even more unique, they got a few new Mustangs there, but this dealer, they carry the service for the Ford GT. One of the only ones in the nation that services the Ford GT. And any given Cars and Coffee, they'll have 7 or more Ford GTs on display. And really that's a rare occasion because Ford GTs, sorry, got my count increased. Got another Mustang on the other side of the road. It makes, keep up with my count, if you can help me with that one. We're probably around 4 traditional Mustangs and 3 Mach E's at this point. All right, so to my left, to my right, there's a Daimler truck facility. In the 90s, that was a Daimler Chrysler combination building when they did development back in the late 90s and the 2000s when they merged and they stayed in business for a while, but since then, Daimler still holds on that building for their truck division. And of course, one of the biggest things that they did together was the Chrysler 300 and the most successful Dodge Charger and Challenger. Those vehicles, well, up until I believe 2023 was the end of production for that platform, which was a Mercedes platform. But of course, they've revamped it now to an EV, which they're coming out with versions that are combustion now. This road for a good 8 miles can almost be uninterrupted. Traffic lights are synced so well that it's almost as if you're riding on a freeway amongst the pickups and SUVs. That car right there, catch that one right there, Mr. CEO. That's looking pretty good. Sounds amazing. Anyway, so we're at a light here, and at some point we got a two-door Charger that'll be approaching my left. I'm not sure if he'll go with the flow of traffic or not, but we have the Charger pull up to me now. That is indeed the Scat Pack version. Well, anyway, as I've been talking about different things, I haven't seen any more. Here's a Mustang right here to my left. It's a Mach E. Many won't appreciate that I've considered a Mustang, but it is what it is. All right, so take a look at the signage here. I'm going to show you this new maze of how Telegraph runs now. I'm going to go to my left because I need to go to 8 Mile westbound, and this whole traffic pattern has changed. It crosses over. So this is the last year. They were doing construction in 2024, and now it's ready, set, and pretty well marked. But you really got to pay attention as to now. I'm going to be approaching the left-hand side of the street to go to 8 Mile. So it just keeps the traffic through happening. So yep, there it is. So for those of you who haven't been in Michigan for the last year, that is a different traffic pattern. So now I'm entering 8 Mile westbound. One advantage of that is if the light was green, it'd be uninterrupted. We're going to pick this back up after I get to my location and make some more errands, and we'll see if we can add to that tally where I think again, I could be wrong, but I think we're at 4-4 right now. 4 traditional Mustangs and 4 Mach E's. Now, I don't know my trim levels that well with those vehicles, but that generation C8 is quite attractive. Pretty cool car. Maybe we'll see more cool cars as we head on back from our errand. But let me see if I can glance which one that is. I think it says Z06. Now, as I was mentioning earlier in my video here, in Detroit, like almost any other metro area, the Challengers are very popular. There's a gentleman there in an SRT called an SRT Cat. Maybe he has a conversion. His plate had SRT Cat. So either it's a narrow body, earlier release of the Hellcat, or it could have had a swap. Let's take a listen. Let's take a listen. Popularity too, and it's a sedan. I mean, so really any car form is exciting to see, because the idea that population primarily drives SUVs and trucks, but to see any kind of car or sedan, coupe, it just adds more character of choice in vehicles. You know, the interesting thing about it is that when I was younger, you couldn't possibly try to count the amount of Mustangs you see on the road. There was just so many of them. It was just like normal traffic. I see a Mustang to my right. It's in the first lane. It's convertible. We'll take a look at that. That makes 5 traditional Mustangs, 4 Mach E's. All right, so we did find one in the wild here on 8 Mile Road. Getting back in the car, we've only seen one Mustang, so. Oh no, that's a Mach E right there. This is leaving the exit. All right, so now we're back even again, 5-5. So yeah, we're just going southbound on Southfield Freeway. For a lot of drivers, this commute comes across a bit intimidating for new drivers because there's a major interchange coming up ahead of us. It's where the Southfield Freeway and the 96 interchanges. For a lot of new drivers, having the freeways overlap, it can be a bit intimidating, but the 96 is going above the Southfield Freeway. Fullerton, and of course, there's I'm trying to get that name. There's another street that intersects with all of this. I always hope that at some point, by the time I reach my destination, that there were actually more traditional Mustangs than Mach E's. But listen, any sale is a sale for Ford, and to have the revenues to keep the development going for future Mustangs in the traditional coupe form. That's the only positive way I can kind of think about it, is reinvesting the money back into more production. It's like a volume seller. You always need a volume seller, like that convertible EcoBoost we saw earlier. I mean, it's a Mustang. Of course, there's Ford World Headquarters to our left. And had it been any regular work day, you may see the occasional experimental vehicle being test driven along the Southfield Freeway. But that is the Ford World Headquarters, commonly known as the Glass House. So we're gonna call it a wrap shortly in hopes that maybe we'll get lucky and a handful more pop up, but I seriously doubt it. But I think where we left off was, I think, pretty even, 5-5. 5 traditional Mustangs, 5 Mach E's. At least there were some. Thanks for watching.